In a strange place surrounded by lush forests and distant mountains, there's a place filled with adventurers. They are minding their business in a tower when they hear a small voice calling all the humans to pay attention. They turn around and find a talking cat, trying to sell them something. The adventurers are surprised to see a wandering merchant cat and are smitten by his cuteness. They ask him what he is selling, and the cat shows them a cherry tomato. However, the humans are not impressed with the product, as they were hoping for something grander like legendary weapons or mysterious potions. The cat tells them not to judge the tomatoes before appraising them, and claims that the tomato he is selling is nothing extraordinary. He suggests they check its status window to learn about its special features. Curious, the humans look at the status window of the magical cherry tomato. It is revealed that the tomato can increase 0.1 MP for 10 minutes and immediately burn 10 grams of fat when eaten. While one man finds the value too low, the women adventurers are excited about a product that can burn fat just by consuming it. The cat tells them the tomato will cost them 0.5 tower coins per piece. The women adventurers rush at him, willing to buy all the tomatoes he has, even at a higher price. A competition breaks out among them, and everyone wants to have the benefits for themselves. One man asks the cat where he got the tomatoes from, but the cat smiles and tells him it's a secret. The scene shifts to a field where the cherry tomatoes are being grown. A man, accompanied by his rabbit assistant carrying a trolley full of tomatoes, tells his other workers to take a break. The man squeezes a tomato into a cup and asks a honeybee to give him some honey. He mixes the contents of the cup, creating his special energy drink, a vitality drink. The man and his rabbit helpers drink the honey and cherry tomato juice, declaring that this is how life should be. However, he is suddenly hit by a quest. He has to distribute the honey and cherry tomato drink to the tower's manager. There is no reward for the quest, but if he refuses, the penalty would be disappointment. Reluctantly, the farmer agrees to complete the quest later. Meanwhile, the cat merchant returns to the farm and calls the farmer, Sejan, his master. Sejan is glad to see the cat back and learns that the cat, named T, sold out and earned a lot of tower coins. Sejan is impressed and believes it won't be long before he becomes famous in the tower. However, T panics because he was keeping Sejan's name a secret. Nonetheless, the money-minded cat is already thinking of selling another round of crops. After eating, T rushes to a black rabbit to refill his supplies. Sejan asks him to rest a bit longer. The black rabbit shows exceptional skill at fishing and catches a few fish for T. Sejun observes T and thinks that he is addicted to earning money. However, he suddenly remembers something he had almost forgotten. Sejun takes a piece of charcoal and makes a symbol on a stone wall that is already half full of the same letter. The symbol marks the 30th day. Sejun reveals that it has been 150 days since he arrived in the tower. He introduces himself as Park Sejun, a tower farmer. The black rabbit and T jump on his shoulders, offering to help with the harvest. Sejun reflects on his time in the tower for the past 150 days since he got lost. He gazes at his fields with different crops growing and rabbits and bees assisting him. He prepares himself for work and begins telling the story of how he survived after getting lost in the tower. 10 years ago, on an ordinary day, a 99-story black tower suddenly appeared in the middle of Gangnam. It wasn't just in Gangnam, but in every corner of the world. A total of 100 towers appeared, and every country started investigating them. However, the only information they could gather was that the tower's height was 990 meters, and it was made from a material strong enough to withstand nuclear bomb explosions. Then people started coming out of the tower, walking right through the walls. This caused an uproar, and news reporters surrounded them, asking how they entered the tower in the first place. The answer they received was that a black hole appeared in front of them, sucking them into the tower. When they opened their eyes, they found themselves on the first floor. The news of people returning from the tower gained worldwide attention, as the same phenomenon was happening all over the world. All 100 towers are interconnected, and upon entering the tower, individuals find themselves on the first floor. There, they must choose between becoming a warrior or a magician. In a press conference, a man explains that monsters start appearing on the second floor, and each time a floor is cleared, rewards are given. He presents a ticket as a rare item and explains that those who were sucked into the tower, called the Awakened, can freely enter and exit. However, ordinary people require this ticket to enter, although it doesn't grant them access to higher floors. When questioned about why people would volunteer to enter the dangerous tower and the purpose of its appearance, the man doesn't have answers, but he proceeds to explain why people would go to the tower. At his cue, a woman reveals a small treasure box filled with gold and jewels, emphasizing that going up the tower will bring wealth. This serves as a tactic to entice people to enter. The Awakened Association holds a monopoly over the tickets and charges exorbitant prices, which recently increased from $150 million to $200 million. A woman watching the news in a mall expresses her disapproval of risking lives for money and finds the ticket prices unreasonable. A young cashier, Sejan, agrees with her, realizing that his savings may not be enough to afford a ticket. Walking home from work, Sejan contemplates his dreams and the possibility of purchasing a ticket. Determined not to give up, he thinks of planting the vegetables he bought at a low price to save money. He envisions a brighter future, imagining gaining fame and proposing to his celebrity crush, Sarah. Suddenly, Sejan notices a vanishing point, reminiscent of the phenomenon that sucked in the first generation of the Awakened. Excited, he declares his readiness to risk his life and approaches the black hole. To his surprise, it starts shrinking. Desperate not to miss his chance, Sejan jumps inside, landing in a desolate underground dome. Confused and dissatisfied, Sejan screams, questioning where he is. Meanwhile, on the top floor of the Black Tower, a crystal orb beeps, alarming a dragon. As the tower's manager, it must investigate the cause of the change detected by the glowing red orb. Sejan finds himself lost and alone inside. Sejan discovers that there is nothing but a small pond, an overhead opening for sunlight, and rock walls surrounding him. Exhausted and devastated, Sejan realizes he has been wandering the cave for an entire day without finding an exit or any sign of human presence. He screams for help, but there is no response, leading him to believe that he is alone in this desolate place. His phone alarm rings, indicating that a whole day has passed. Determined to survive, Sejan takes stock of the limited food and water he brought with him: a bottle of water, cherry tomatoes, green onions, sweet potatoes, and an apple. Hungry and desperate, Sejan eats the apple and finds it delicious but insufficient to sustain him. He then consumes a raw sweet potato, pleasantly surprised by its taste and texture. However, while eating, he chokes and must drink water to swallow it. Despite the challenges, Sejan remains resolved not to die even with these limited supplies. After all, entering the tower has long been his dream, and he must overcome the challenges no matter what. Realizing that his food supply won't last long, Sejan comes up with an idea. He plants the apple core in the soil and snaps a green onion near the base, planning to eat the leaves and cultivate the roots for future crops. He also plants 3 tomatoes and 2 sweet potatoes, saving whatever food is left for himself until the crops grow. Suddenly, he hears a terrifying scream from a monster, causing his heart to race. To his surprise, the sky darkens, and Sejan witnesses a blue moon eclipse the sun. Amidst the chaos, he sees a black dragon soaring through the sky, captivated by its beauty. Overwhelmed, Sejan loses consciousness, descending into a deep slumber. When Sejan awakens, he finds himself sore and disoriented, realizing he had been unconscious for 2 days. As he observes his surroundings, he discovers that the green onions he planted have grown remarkably, along with emerging tomato seedlings. Sejan realizes that the tower's power has affected the plants, causing them to grow rapidly. Excited by his burgeoning crops, Sejan decides to harvest the green onions, but finds they block sunlight for the tomato seedlings. He cuts off the green onions, which prove to be a labor-intensive task. He decides to taste and see if they have the same qualities as normal crops from outside, but discovers that their leaves are way spicier than anything he has ever tried. He jumps to the pond and starts pouring water in his mouth, trying to get rid of the spiciness. But despite the burn, Sejan appreciates the newfound spiciness in his meals. Sejan spends his days sitting on a rock in the cave, eating the tomatoes. The sun never sets in the tower, but instances where the blue moon appeared occurred frequently. He was thinking to himself from what he heard. The blue moon didn't happen until the 10th floor. He thought he was in the 1st floor. But what about the dragon? He has never heard of a dragon or anything similar, but that wasn't an illusion, he said to himself. This video is proudly sponsored by Uncharted Territory, the captivating fictional podcast that takes you on a thrilling journey of a man trapped inside a video game. Get ready to immerse yourself in a world where reality blurs with pixels, danger lurks at every turn, and the quest for escape becomes an epic adventure. Find Uncharted Territory on your favorite podcast platform and unlock a world that will keep you on the edge of your seat. And now let's go back to the video. When the tower appeared 10 years ago, one of the major guilds called the Phoenix Guild cleared the 37th floor, an achievement that hasn't been topped since then, and information about the 30 to 37th remained top secret contrary to the rest of the floors, as some of them contained skeletons, other goblins, orgs, spider monsters, and so on, but nothing similar to a dragon has ever been talked about. Am I in a floor so high that no one has reached it yet? Maybe. While lost in thought, water droplets fall on Sejan's face, surprising him as the weather in the tower is usually pleasant. He spots a fast-moving creature, initially fearing it to be a monster. However, he soon realizes it is a cute rabbit, which hops down a hole in the cave. Determined to catch the rabbit, Sejan is outsmarted as it uses his head as a stepping stone to land safely. The rabbit approaches the green onion plants, indicating its desire to eat them. Sejan breaks a leaf off the green onion and feeds it to the rabbit, who greedily accepts. Sejan realizes the plants have grown back quickly. At this rate, they would need to be harvested daily. The rabbit suddenly starts talking. Sejan turns his face to see who is the rabbit talking to. Another rabbit appears, and the two rabbits indicate they are a married couple. Sejan is amused by their presence. They asked him if they can live in the cave, and he could never refuse this cute ask from the rabbits, and decides to let them stay in the cave if they assist with farming. The rabbits jump to cuddle Sejan, which wasn't what he expected. The rabbit couple starts working diligently, while Sejan watches and contemplates keeping a diary. Sejan wonders about the magical tools the rabbits possess: a watering can with an endless water supply and a pocket containing various farming tools. Impressed, he wishes he had similar items. The rabbits complete harvesting the green onions, and Sejan inspects other crops. The rabbits eagerly await Sejan's attention. He wouldn't make them wait any longer and tells them that they have passed his test. Overjoyed, they rush to a corner of the cave where the husband rabbit builds a home for them. Curious about the rabbit's actions, Sejan observes as the wife rabbit places a beautiful floral wreath on the door, ready to welcome him inside. Exhausted from the intense labor of digging and building, the husband arrives and can barely stand. Sejan praises the husband for constructing the house so quickly, and the husband rabbit responds with a thumbs-up gesture. However, the wife's hand on the husband's shoulder catches Sejan's attention. Blushing and pointing cutely at the door, she suggests something intimate to her husband. Terrified, the husband hesitates, but the wife insists and playfully drags him inside for a sweet moment of lovemaking. Sejan hears the sounds coming from their house and silently wishes the husband all the best, though he feels a tinge of jealousy for not having a wife himself. However, his envy doesn't linger for long, and he returns to his spot, realizing he no longer feels alone in the cave, thanks to the rabbit's presence. Sejan reflects on the newfound companionship and admits that being alone in the cave was boring. He lies down on the dried onion leaves, and as he does, smoke starts to rise from beneath him. Startled, Sejan jumps up and rolls on the ground, feeling a burning sensation on his back. Curious about the cause, he investigates and discovers that a plastic water bottle filled with water was acting as a lens, burning the dried onion leaves. Inspired by the accidental discovery, Sejan's survival instincts kick in, and he embraces his role as if hosting a popular survival show. He emphasizes the challenging environment of the tower, but proclaims his determination not to give up. Realizing the potential of the plastic bottle as a convex lens, he sees it as a means to start a fire, a skill he had learned from a famous survival show. However, his attempt to start a fire using the bottle as a lens fails, leaving him frustrated and in tears. Just when he loses hope, a small spark ignites, revealing the missing piece. The rabbits, observing his actions, approach and assist him by blowing wind on the leaves while Sejan uses the bottle as a lens. Together, they successfully start a fire. Overjoyed, Sejan decides to cook the onion plants over the fire. He peels the burnt parts of the cooked onion and takes a bite, finding it surprisingly sweet, which makes him overjoyed by this discovery. The rabbits, curious about the difference cooking makes, roast one for themselves and enjoy the delicious taste. Sejan describes the experience as his mouth feeling like a green horse running wild in a green field. He repeats how delicious it is and starts roasting another onion. In Sejan's diary, the second entry documents his discovery of fire, the joy of eating warm food, and his peaceful sleep. He has embraced the lifestyle of a farmer and starts his day by washing his face at the pond. He tends to his crops, which now include cherry tomato and sweet potato plants that have grown considerably. After harvesting the green onions and watering the other plants, Sejan feels content and prepared for the day. After discovering fire, Sejan and the rabbits make torches from green onion leaves, illuminating the cave and making it easier for Sejan to navigate, especially in dark areas like the pond. While near the pond with a torch, he witnesses a fish jumping out of the water, seemingly attracted to the light. Sejan dodges its open mouth and the fish lands on land, unable to return to the water. Sejan realizes he has discovered fish in the cave and decides to kill and roast it over the fire. The fish is remarkably tasty. Surprisingly, the rabbits show interest in the meat, challenging Sejan's expectations of their diet. 2 days later, Sejan learns about the appearance of the blue moon, which occurs every 30 days on this floor, using his phone and available power sources. He keeps track of the date. Sejan's batteries dried out, so he started marking the number of days on a wall to keep track of time. It's now the 61st day. A few days ago, something amazing happened. The husband rabbit opened the door of his house, and a group of baby rabbits immediately bolted out. The babies ran straight at Sejong, jumping on him and playfully casting him to the ground. Despite their playful bites, Sejong couldn't get enough of their cuteness and enjoyed their company. Looking at the sleep-deprived husband rabbit, Sejong empathized with the challenges of raising babies. He offered to take care of the babies for a while and urged the couple to relax and eat breakfast. Sejong then took the baby rabbits with him to check on his cherry tomato plants. The babies frolicked around on the farm while Sejong observed his plants. To his delight, the tomato flowers had bloomed, and he now saw his farm as a flower garden that would bear fruit. However, one of the baby rabbits put its face inside a flower, getting pollen on its face and sneezing. Sejong burst into laughter, but then he noticed something remarkable. The tomato plants had started to bear fruit. His hard work was finally showing results, and Sejong celebrated the first fruits with a dance alongside the baby rabbit. The day before the blue moon approached, he extinguished the fire and stored a small amount of burning leaves under large boulders. Wearing makeshift clothes made from onion leaves, he believed it would be enough to stay warm and hidden. The rabbits also headed back to their homes as the blue moon drew near, just like before. He went into hiding, thinking it would be a piece of cake. As the blue moon began, Sejong wasn't afraid, but he grew tired and hoped the blue moon would end soon. To prepare for an unlikely situation, he had already hidden things with a strong odor and was now hiding in a corner. However, the passage of time became challenging to determine. The cries of the monsters didn't help either, sending shivers down his spine. Hoping this blue moon would pass without incident, he suddenly heard a loud roar, a different and more intense sound than the other monsters. And indeed, a huge monster was approaching, squashing full-grown trees beneath its feet. The monster reached the entrance of the cave, which was too small compared to its size. Sejong gaped in fear as he saw the giant bear-like monster standing before him. Thankfully, the monster had not noticed him yet, and Sejong realized he needed to hide in a better place before it spotted him. Trembling, he picked up his bag and started moving quietly and slowly. However, carrying the bag turned out to be a mistake, as the contents accidentally made a loud noise when they dropped. Sejong stared in horror at his stuff and then at the beast, which was now trying to peep inside the cave. Sejong screamed in fear, and the bear roared in response. Moments later, Sejong found himself sound asleep, and the rabbits were trying to wake him up. Failing to wake him, the father rabbit slapped Sejong, and he finally woke up, shocked and still afraid of what he had seen before passing out. He asked the rabbits what had happened to the blue moon and looked around, realizing that it was over. The husband rabbit informed Sejong that he was unconscious when they found him, and he explained that Sejong had passed out when he saw the monster trying to force its entry into the cave. Sejong recalled the terrifying experience and shivered, realizing he had almost lost his life. Feeling cold, the wife rabbit created a big fire and a blanket of onion leaves. Sejong sat in front of the fire with the baby rabbit snuggled up with him. The wife rabbit brought him roasted fish, and Sejong thanked her as he ate. While eating, he realized that the monster had noticed their location, possibly because of another monster or its inability to enter the small cave. But there was no guarantee of safety if it came back next time. Sejong thought about everything he had done to survive and decided he didn't want to die. He believed that the best thing he could do now was to eat well and survive. As Sejong was eating his fish, the husband rabbit approached him, wanting to show him something. Sejong followed him and found something unbelievable, a ripe cherry tomato. But it was nothing like he had expected. It was blue and glistening in the sunlight. He bowed down to pick up the big and ripe fruit and wondered why it was blue. Just then, something appeared in front of him, a window that opened up and told him he had completed the quest to harvest the fruit containing the energy of the blue moon. Sejong was shocked to see an actual message window and couldn't believe it. The message on the window changed, indicating that the tower manager was interested in him because of his amazing achievements, but was not happy. Confused, Sejong asked the window what it meant, and if it was a mistake that he ended up in the tower. He expressed his anger and demanded to be allowed to go home immediately. The window explained that the tower manager wanted to kill Sejong to eradicate all proof of this mistake. Sejong was flabbergasted and screamed at the screen, expressing his disbelief that instead of rewarding him for his achievements, the manager wanted to kill him. The window fell silent for a while. The next message changed his mood from scared and angry to elated. The tower manager was awakening him. Sejong felt an aura surrounding him as the message displayed, and he couldn't believe it. He confirmed with the window that he was officially awake in the tower now. Curious about his job, Sejong eagerly awaited to see which one he would get. To his disappointment, his job was assigned as a tower farmer with a proficiency of F rank, All the joy and excitement left Seijin's face, and he went blank. The windows kept giving him messages about his job, mentioning that he would never get sick and be close to nature, and he would gain experience points by harvesting crops. Seijin was shocked. He couldn't understand how he ended up as a farmer. Feeling frustrated, he imagined a far-fetched scenario where he succeeded in clearing the tower and became the main guest of a late-night talk show. He imagined the host introducing him as the man who cleared the tower despite having ordinary talent. But the scenario felt pathetic to him. In frustration, Seijin tried to smash the blue tomato to the ground. However, when he looked at the scared and concerned faces of the rabbits, he stopped. Seijin looked at his farm and the tomato in his hand. He realized he wasn't alone in growing it. Everyone had worked hard to reach this point. Seijin decided to keep farming, and the rabbits were happy with his decision. He looked at the blue tomato in his hand, and an information window opened up, explaining that it was a magical cherry tomato imbued with the power of the blue moon. Seijin was amazed by himself for growing something as great as the blue tomato. However, the tower manager was watching him and was not satisfied with how things were going. As Seijin thanked the rabbits and celebrated their achievement, a message window popped up, triggering a quest. He had to offer the blue cherry tomato to the manager, and the reward for completing the quest would be a job-related skill. The penalty for refusing the quest was death. He asked the window if it was a joke, and if it wasn't, it was in poor taste. And with that, the first chapter of the story ends. Don't forget to follow Uncharted Territory whenever you get your podcasts.